Welkom iedereen bij Let's Play van 999. In het vorige deel hebben we iedereen een codename gegeven en is nummer 9 weggaan. Door middel van een kidnappoging of zo, iets in die richting. Snake ran to Clover's side as she lay on the floor. She climbed instantly to her feet and once there leaned heavily on Snake's shoulder for support. Jumper ran to the door. The others followed him. Several pairs of hands grabbed hold of the handles and pulled. They grunted and strained, but... Dat hele muurbeweging vind ik wel geinig. Shit. That was when Lotus the dancer spoke. Her voice was quiet. Jimpy pressed his ear against the cold metal of the door. The others did the same. Then he heard something else. It was the ninth man. Light? His voice shook with fear. Safe on outside, they stepped back from the door and looked at one another. Zo, ik ga wedden om 10 euro dat er een bom is. Jimpy grabbed hold of the device. He slammed his hand on the scanner panel. Nothing happened. Why didn't it register him? He looked at the player where the asterisk had shown up. It said engaged. Was een bom. Ik ben een moordkiller, ik weet het. The explosion rocked the room. Instinctively, they ducked, then stood up slowly when they realized there was no danger. No one spoke. Silence filled the room. In that silence, the electronic tone that echoed across the room sounded as loud as a gunshot. All eyes turned toward it. It had come from the side next to the door. The display changed from engaged to vacant. Jimpy nodded and placed his hand on the scanner panel. Oh, dat werkt weer. Dat is een beetje raar eigenlijk. Maar ja, volgens die logica mogen maar 3 tot 5 mensen en alles wat daar onder of boven zit activeert een bom. Klinkt logisch. A red asterisk appeared on the LCD panel. The device had registered Jimpy's bracelet number 5. His was not enough, however. At least 2 more people were needed. Jimpy asked... Ja, welke pair? Dus heb je 5 nodig, dus dat is 5. Momenteel heb je 5. Ja, ik weet niet of de nummers die je eerder hebt gedaan alweer werken. Nou ja. Ace en Lotus is 9, is 5, is 4, is 1 en 5. 2 en 7 is 9, plus 5 is 4, dus werkt ook. Ik wil eigenlijk Santa en June. The pun was a little too on the nose, but the mood was still grim. Both Santa and June lifted their left hands silently. He verified and she followed suit. Ja, iedere combinatie zou volgens mij wel werken. Till it failed, the conditions. If they were to pull the lever on the side. Jimpy grabbed the lever and looked back over his shoulder. They stiffened and nodded. Jimpy nodded back and set his mouth in a grim line. Then he slowly lowered the lever. Holy fuck, deze animatie. Ik vind het nog steeds mooi. There was a metallic groan and the door slid open. Dus eenzelfde deur kan 2 keer open. En deze muziek is fucking nice. A breath of air drifted out of it, carrying a stench that nearly made them gag. Jimpy grimaced and put a hand over his mouth. Lotus and Ace shuddered. 7 grunted. Even Santa's voice shook. It appeared that Santa was right. The hallway on the other side of the store was splattered with chunks of torn flesh and dark red blood. The shriek echoed across the room. It had come from June. Then her strength left her and she dropped. As Jimpy turned to sketch her, the door groaned shut. Maar er is nog een tijdlimiet aan, dat is flauw. She crumpled to the floor. Junpei dropped to his knees and put his arm around her shoulders. That was when he noticed. Her whole body was fevered. She was radiating intense heat. June didn't answer. Her face looked like wax, and her whole body began to shake. She nodded weakly. Junpei lifted June to her feet and guided her to a nearby chair. Oh, ik dacht al, wat? Een stoel? As gently as he could, he sat her down in it. She nodded, and as he did, a single huge tear rolled down the side of her face. Her voice cracked, broken by misery and grief, and choked by sobs. Junpei spun around. No one spoke. Ace, Snake, Santa, Clover, Seven and Lotus. They simply stood as 7 pairs of downcast eyes and 7 grim lines for mouths. June's body shook with silent sobs. They slowed as the minutes ticked by and eventually they stopped. Then suddenly, in the cold, heavy silence that enveloped them like a thick fog, a bell began to ring. The clock in the central hall. 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Is al een uur voorbij, Jezus. And then on the 10th ring, it stopped. The sound of the bell faded away into silence. Ace said what each one of them had been thinking. Seven's deep voice echoed across the room. Santa leaped to his feet, his fist clenched. Ja, ik snap ook niet waarom de deur zo snel dicht ging. Moet er dan een tijdlimiet aan zitten, maar ja. Als de deur een paar keer open kan gaan, zou ik kunnen zeggen dat dat je 1 deur met z'n 5 erin gaat en 1 deur met z'n 3, want we zijn momenteel met z'n 8. Santa's outburst fell on deaf ears. No one seemed to agree with him. They stared back at him, their eyes blank and their faces tired. Finally, Lotus spoke. In his mind's eye, Junpei saw the corpse again. The dark, reddish-black pool of blood. The scattered pieces of flesh. Laat alsjeblieft zien, ik wil het zien. Come on. Organs strewn across the floor like the blossom of a grotesque flower. The explosion that torn through his body had been powerful. The 9th man's act had been twisted at an odd angle. Van een explosie gaat je nek toch niet draaien? Hangt af van de explosie. Junpei suspected detonation had thrown him against the wall. Half of his face was crossed and the other half was covered in blood. Most of his abdomen had been emptied either by explosion or by gravity. He had landed on his back and stark white ribs just jutted out some sort of macabre crab. Ik vind het fucking nice. Junpei felt something flip in his stomach. Eyebrows went up and Santa continued. Whatever Snake was laughing at, Santa did not find particularly humorous. Ja, je moet met 3 of met 5 mensen erin zitten. Ja. Dat is wat ik zeg. Ze moeten met z'n 3 of met z'n 5. Want daarboven of daaronder werkt niet. Santa furrowed his brow in thought. Junpei fought back. That everyone who verified had to go. All those who enter must leave, and all who enter must contribute. Yeah. That's correct. A gold star for you, Junpei. Snake inclined his head towards Junpei. Ja. Oh, I'm not so sure of that. Snake looked at Seven with what could only be described as pity and sight. He couldn't see them, of course, but perhaps Snake sensed that confused eyes upon him. When Ace spoke, he gave words to everyone else's thoughts. Snake removed the card from the pocket of his jacket. With a flourish, he presented it to Jack, who took a close look and spoke. Snake Santa snatched the card from Ace, but the expression of disgust quickly turned to one of confusion. Seven took it out of Santa's hands. The card went from Seven to Lotus, from Lotus to June, and finally to Junpei. He looked at it and understood. Braille, yeah. Braille, the written language of the blind. This card was covered with small embossed bumps. Junpei could recognize it, but he certainly couldn't read it. Junpei handed the card back to Snake, who nodded him with a small smirk. Suddenly everyone was crowding around Snake, desperate to hear what this message said. Santa especially looked as if he were about to grab hold of Snake and shake the answers out of him. Snake raised his hands. Junpei swallowed hard and waited for him to start. He was not the only one. Presently he began to read, his voice calm. His fingers glided over the tiny bumps as he spoke. Bracelet number 2. Since you're not blessed with sight, I shall bless you, and only you, with information. I shall tell you of the function of the red, of the dead, and of the bracelet. The red is the recognition device. It will verify your number. Beside every numbered door you will find a red. The dead is the deactivation device. It does exactly what it says. Once you have passed through the numbered door, you must use the dead to stop the detonator in your bracelet. But perhaps you're wondering, what does this detonator detonate? I'm afraid this may be something of a surprise. I have placed a small bomb. Dat is onaardig. Is of you and the people whom you're about to meet. You swallowed it while you were unconscious. Ow! I've no doubt that by the time you read this note, the bomb will have passed your stomach and found its way to your small intestine. In other words, you will be unable to oh sorry, zeg maar, volgens mij kan ik dit niet eens uitspreken. Regurgitate it. As you do not try. As mentioned before, the bracelet on the left hand contains a detonator. Think of it as a remote fuse or timer for the bomb in your body. There's only one condition which will cause it to detonate. The condition is that you enter a numbered door. Once you've done so, the timer will activate, no matter who you may be. You have 81 seconds. If after the time the detonator has not been activated, it will send... Okay, daar weten we. In order to activate the detonator, every person who verified the numbers at the red must also verify the numbers at the dead. Once all numbers have been verified by the dead, you need only pull the lever at its side and the countdown will cease. Anyone who does not verify the number at the red will find themselves unable to verify the numbers at the dead. Let's say if you should pass through the number door without first verifying your number at the red, in 1 second you would be dead. Feels like Red Dead. You must also keep in mind that the numbered doors will close automatically after 9 seconds have passed. Ik wist, er zat een tijdlimiet aan. So long as doors open, the dead will not function. You would do well to remember this. Lastly, let us discuss how to remove the bracelets. There are only 2 ways to do so. 1, you escape from the ship. 2, your heart rate reaches 0. Oftewel, we moeten gewoon weg uit dit schip. Want er zijn maar... Om een hartslag naar 0 te brengen, nou, de 1 is duidelijk, je moet dood. 2, er is een medicijn. Vraag me niet wat voor medicijn. Zorg ervoor dat je in een tijdelijke state van coma raakt. En hierdoor gaat je hartslag naar 0. Het is alleen voor een tijdje. Oh. Maar ja, dat medicijn hebben we niet op het moment. In other words, once the bracelet is taken outside the confines of the ship, or the text that is where heartbeat has fallen to 0, it will shut down automatically. There's no other way to remove your bracelet. Jawel, je snijdt je arm af. For example, Oh, laat maar. Oké, mooi. Snake finished reading and carefully returned the card to his pocket. The message had been lengthy, but its meaning was clear. Only those who verified the numbers at the red could pass through the numbered doors. Teams could not increase or decrease their numbers. The reds, deads, and bracelets enforced the rules. They were judge, jury, and executioner. In defiance of zero suggestions, both Sand en Seven put fingers down their throats and began to zo kan je het ook proberen. The rest stiffened, some touched their stomachs, some simply stared at their bracelets. Jimpy gingerly touched his stomach. There was a bump inside his body, which can go boom. The thought of it made him queasy. His stomach felt oddly hollow and his legs were weak. Why had Zero designed such a ludicrous game? Omdat hij een douchebag is. Junpei looked over at the others. They were all silent, each person waiting to hear what the others would say. Welkom bij de normale HBO-klas. Wordt een vraag gesteld en niemand antwoordt. Finally, Santa spoke. Instead, it was Santa who looked surprised. There was a moment of silence and then everyone spoke at once. Yeah, some too. Me too. Ja, dit weten we allemaal. As stories were sorted out, the truth became clear. All of the stories were the same. They had been attacked at home at midnight. The person claiming to be Zero had worn a mask. There had been white smoke and that each person had passed out. When they awoke, they had found themselves on D-deck in a room with a 3-level bunk bed. Only Seven's story seemed to lack the details of the others. That was all he said. It occurred to Jimmy at the time that it's somewhat strange, but it didn't press the issue. He hadn't done so because there was something that struck him as even stranger. There was the mystery of the relationship between Snake and Clover. For some reason they had been adopted from the same room and woken up in the same room. Junpei looked at them thoughtfully. It was Clover that answered. Clearly she felt she had nothing to hide. Oh, okay. Junpei was taken aback. The others seemed just as surprised. He laid his hand on Clover's shoulder. Wacht even, hoe kan je naar ons pointen als hij ons niet kan zien? June glanced at Junpei, uncomfortable with the sudden attention. Junpei felt somewhat nervous as well and tried to scratch his head as casually as possible. They looked at one another, and like it was tagged, they both tilted their neck at the same time. A millionaire? Weet ik veel. Het zou wel een leuk experiment zijn. The word dead hung in the air, heavy and ominous. The room went quiet again.